G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to be taking on the new IDBH stage, which is versus Heroes of Justice, and we're going to be taking a look, well, basically at how you can complete both challenges for this stage at the same time. So the two category challenges, well, the challenges for this stage are to use 3 Defenders of Justice characters, 3 Inhuman Deeds characters, and finish the stage in less than 16 turns. Now, we do that, but in a very strange way. So basically, to cut a long story short, it's very difficult to stick Inhuman Deeds characters and Defenders of Justice characters on the same team. As one can imagine, I'm pretty certain most players will have realized that people that commit Inhuman Deeds don't generally get along with the Defenders of Justice. It doesn't really have a lot of intense synergy between them. So basically, to cut a long story short, how you build this team is it's kind of a combination of Bond of Parent and Child and Future Saga, using the Dragon Ball Heroes category characters in the shape or in the form of a lot of the Xeno characters, and then also alongside that we have gone with Goku Black characters who perform Inhuman Deeds. So you can do this strategy as well with a Time Traveler's lead. It also works because all of these units are on the Time Traveler's category. So yeah, you can do all of that if you want to. It's a little bit of a tough workaround. It does require you to generally have Dragon Ball Heroes characters, which aren't the easiest to come by if you don't summon on the Dragon Ball Heroes banner. Especially since there's not enough free-to-play options to make it work. There are some decent extreme free-to-play options for Dragon Ball Heroes, but there's only one super-based option for Dragon Ball Heroes, and even though he is on Defenders of Justice, he is the only super-based option. Obviously, you can use him. So you can use it's Great Saiyaman 4, you can use him as an option, but otherwise, other than that, you kind of need to work around this premise. But hopefully this gives you an idea on how to do it. Even if it doesn't necessarily work out this way, it's still something. Obviously, Inhuman Deeds as a category has a couple interesting units on it. It's got the Goku Black characters, the Goku Rosés. It does have some Skata Nappas and Skata Vegetas and Saiyan Saga characters. But in general, Inhuman Deeds comprises mainly like Freezers and units like that, which is obviously just kind of one of those things. In terms of the actual team, obviously whenever you mix extreme and you mix kind of like extreme slash super type teams, there is always a little bit of like lack of synergy, but it's just one of those things. So it starts off with Gohan, and then it moves into Videl. Honestly, there's not too much of a difference between most of the phases here. There's not a lot of set gimmicks with all of these characters in this IDBH stage, at least from what it seems. I wasn't affected by too many of these kind of mechanics these opponents have, which I think, for the most part, a lot of players won't be affected by, so that is something you can at least, handle on your own accord. So there's not a lot of like diverse mechanics. Sometimes in IDBH they'll give bosses transformations or locking or sealing, sometimes stunning. Most of these characters don't seem to have that. I think the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 can seal you, I think, but generally speaking most of the bosses are pretty straightforward. You don't get locked into place too much, you don't suffer too much from pretty much anything. In terms of this team build, one thing I will state just early on before we talk about the characters is that the Int Goku Black, the Int Transforming Goku Black, you do want to make sure that he essentially doesn't take too much damage. The main reason being is you need him to transform into his rose state. Not only will he share a lot of links then with the strength rose, and they become a very, very powerful pairing, but also at that point as well, he will retain his stacks of defense, and he will be able to actually continually stack defense, which is pretty good for him in the long run. So it is just something ideal to make sure happens more immediately than anything else, especially considering there is a turn limit in this event for one of the missions. So you do want to beat this event within a certain time frame. Obviously, beyond that, just to talk about the team for a bit. So in terms of the in terms of our lead, we've gone with a Time Traveler's lead in the form of Int Goku Black. Ideally, it would have gone for like the strength, Super Hearts, but he's not on Inhuman Deeds, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, basically, we're going with the Int Goku Black. As mentioned before, you want him to transform, which, as you can see, we've managed to get done. And that's kind of the biggest hurdle to overcome with this team, is being able to obviously, beat or keep his health in this threshold. Because if you don't transform, it just becomes way more difficult overall for you to actually utilize him, in a very simple way. Otherwise, then you've got to keep avoiding damage, you've got to keep trying to control your damage, and you just basically have to continue, to do all these type of mitigating factors, which is kind of a little bit, I want to say, not ideal, so to say, just from my perspective at least. So yeah, I would say basically the ideal thing would be to get him to transform and then to take things from there. Now obviously, I think for the most part, at least for me, I would say it's a fairly straightforward process. All you really need to do is be concerned about the Int Goku Black, and then from there you should be fine. Once you get to the Gamma stages, things start to get a little bit more difficult. So you do want to obviously be aware of your items. You'll see that I have saved a Whis for both Gamma phases, generally speaking, just because it tends to be a little bit easier that way. When you maintain damage reduction, it's just less chance of things going wrong, which is always a good thing, so to say. But yeah, pretty straightforward. But otherwise, the rest of the team build is fairly simple, I want to say. I think most players shouldn't have a huge, I think personally you shouldn't see a huge kind of issue in terms of building the rest of the team. Obviously, we've got Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who's a great unit. He's got guard and he's got damage reduction based on the amount of Dragon Ball Heroes category allies on the team. Obviously, we don't have a ton of Dragon Ball Heroes category allies on the team, which does tend to make a slight difference. But it's not really a huge issue. The amount we do have with the 3 heroes we do have on the team is generally quite fine. Then, alongside him, we've kind of decided to go with the Goku's family support. Not necessarily for any specific reason, but I decided to go with the Goku's family support, Xeno Super Saiyan Goku, for 2 reasons. One, I think Xeno support Goku is pretty good. He does greatly raise attack and defense, which means he tends to stack quite quickly, which does make things a lot easier overall. And then alongside him, we also have the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. So Super Saiyan 4 Xeno Limit Breaker Vegeta is a very good unit just in general. He's very strong, he provides a lot of utility to the team, and he just does a pretty good job, I think, overall, as a unit. I think you can obviously have some issues, as anyone can with any of these units. But for me, I found them to be pretty reliable overall. The strength Goku Black pairs up really well with the transformed into Goku Black, so that's kind of a very nice combination that I think works very well together. So I was very happy with those two, very happy with them together. They did a fantastic job, and generally speaking, they just managed to do everything just right. Managed to keep our health up, do good damage. Obviously, the Goku in Goku Black does take a little bit of time to get going, which is important, but his damage is pretty good, especially once he builds up his crit chance. And because we managed to get the final strike, the final blow with Goku Black strength, generally speaking, things were okay. Just remember that you will experience a difference if you have not got the final blow with the strength Goku Black. Like, the final blow does give him quite a sizable boost. So obviously, if you can, I would say try and make sure that you do at least have that final boost kind of done. I think that is, generally speaking, a very good way to go about things, and I would highly suggest that you do make sure that you do at least have, these type of things covered. At least from my perspective, I think it is the best way to go, and it does tend to help out when you do get to the stage. Obviously, as the friend lead, we took the Int Trunks and Super Saiyan God Vegeta. Just a very, very, very powerful unit who are great in the first slot. They stack attack and defense. They build up crit depending on how many times they've been hit. And yeah, they just do some pretty huge damage overall. So really, really, really nice unit to have. They do a fantastic job. And obviously very happy with their overall performance. It wasn't anything too necessary from them, in a sense that they just did a great job. Really nothing too much to complain about. Then we have the AGL Goku Black. He's a floating support for the Future Saga category. He takes a couple hits, but once he does take a couple hits, he does actually become pretty decent. Nothing crazy, he's not going to drop huge damage, but pretty good stuff overall, honestly speaking. Very, very happy with the way he was utilized, the way he functions. I think a very simplistic unit that was fairly easy to incorporate into the team. I would have liked for him to have dupes. I think then he would have been maybe a bit better. But yeah, overall just nice to have on the team. Obviously suits quite a large portion of our team, even if it doesn't include the Dragon Ball Heroes units. So yeah, overall just some pretty good stuff. And I think in general, I was pretty happy with his performance. So yeah, pretty good stuff overall. Honestly speaking, the Goku Black rotation was just really a lot of fun to use. They did huge damage. Once you got the final blow, once you got the transformation, they just made a very fun pairing. Really cool animations wise as well, and just the whole Goku Black vibe was all really good. Just watch out if you are using, for example, like this here, how we're using the AGL Goku Black. Be aware of AGL units. Gamma can hit pretty hard, not super duper hard, but he can hit decently, so don't be surprised if your tech units do take a little bit of damage. It is something that can happen, and you do want to be aware of that. So try and be wary of that, just in general. And yeah, you should otherwise have a pretty decent time. That's all I really want to say. At least from my perspective, I think that's generally a pretty good kind of procedure to operate in. But yeah, overall it was a pretty fun one, quite interesting to try and do both of them at the same time. Like I said, it will require you to have Dragon Ball Heroes units, but not everyone's gonna have that. If not, just split it up, do the challenges separately. There's really no reason to do them together. There's no stamina cost for the stage, there's no prize or medal you get for doing them both at the same time. So yeah, just feel free to do them whenever you want. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, if you can leave a like, I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. But yeah, until then, of course, take care, stay safe. And if you do have any queries, just leave one in the comments down below. But until then, take care, stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next one. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and bye.